Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, we'll be discussing one more Para Jumble exercise where questions related to Para Jumble questions that are generally asked in CAT and other management entrance examinations will be discussed in detail, and the techniques will be revisited or revised because we have already learned the techniques, which are the techniques that we can use effectively for unjumbling the Para Jumble questions. So we will just revise those techniques through those exercises so that you become adept at answering the questions within the least possible time. So, as usual, the questions or the exercise is provided in PDF form. The link to the exercise is given in the video description. So, I would suggest that you please click on the link and attempt the exercise on your own first, and then come back and watch the video so that you get maximum information regarding the techniques and the methods we can use in arriving the answer in the least possible time. All right. So let's go to the first question. So this seems like a slightly difficult question, but if you go through the options carefully, you will be able to understand how to unjumble it. So basically, this question is talking about, or this passage rather is talking about the Soviet era city of Sevastopol, which was a very important city as far as the Soviets were concerned, because it was having a lot of strategic importance and military importance was there. So while going through the options, we can see the passage is basically discussing why it was a closed city, or why the city was not open for ordinary people or from people of other parts of the Soviet Union. And the explanations are given here. So in 1948, Sevastopol was separated from the surrounding regions and made directly subordinate to the Moscow. And then what happened in next thing that happened in 1948. So that is the thing that is given here. What the Joseph Stalin. So you should know your history. Only when you have some knowledge about world history, you can connect that these two sentences form a pair. Why? Because it is talking about what Joseph Stalin did just after the Second World War. So in 19, must know that the Second World War lasted from 1939 to 1945. So Joseph Stalin was the president of the Soviet Union after the Second World War. So he said that the Crimean people, or this Sevastopol was a part of Crimea, which is now in Georgia. But at that time, it was part of Soviet Union. So the Crimean ordinary people or the local people were collaborating with the Nazis. This was the charge made by Joseph Stalin, and then he ordered the entire people of that area to be deported from Crimea to several other Central Asian Soviet republics like Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, etc. So these are the two things that lead us to this particular thing, that serving as an important Soviet village used to say pro city. So we can say that D and B form a pair, because D is talking about the Sevastopol being separated from the regions in 1948 and made directly under the control of Moscow. And then Joseph Stalin deporting the indigenous people or the local people from that area. They were deported to other parts of the Soviet Union because he blamed them to be collaborating with the Nazis during the Second World War. So this is a very clear pair. Now, serving as an important Soviet naval base, it used to be a closed city for years. So this, we can say it could be a last sentence, because it is saying why this particular a city called Sevastopol was a closed city. But here you see there is this used to be. So when we have already discussed the reasons about a city being a closed city or an isolated city, then we can the phrase used to be is not the proper. We can say it remained a closed city for years. So that is why we have already discussed the methods by which Soviet Union cut off the Sevastopol from the other parts of the country and made it directly under the control of Soviet Union. So we can say it remained a closed city if you are using it as a last sentence. So, or it was a closed city for years. But since the phrase used is it used to be a closed city, maybe it is not a last sentence. Maybe we can say it is the previous sentence. So first we can say that as serving as an important naval base. So we are talking about this Sevastopol being an important naval base. It used to be closed to city. So then what? If you were going to say that, then you need a proper introductory sentence. C. means Soviet era Sevastopol, which not only remained the largest Crimean city but also retained its special strategic and military profile. So here we are talking about the for introducing the subject, which is the Soviet era Sevastopol, which remained the largest Crimean city, but was also a very strategic, having a lot of strategic importance as well as Soviet Union was concerned. But what is the problem here? The problem is this one, adding to the confusion. So you when you read this particular phrase adding to the confusion, we might have be confused about whether this can be a proper introductory sentence because where is the confusion here? There is no confusion here. So that is why this sentence it does not fit in between the other sentences because the other sentences are only talking about why or how Sevastopol became an isolated or a closed city, whereas there is no confusion. So that is why we can say that maybe the passage is taken from the middle of another passage where we are discussing about some confusion regarding Sevastopol, and the author is saying that adding to the confusions that are already discussed, another confusion or another fact was that so this Sevastopol was it was the largest Crimean city, but also retained its special strategic and military. And so it was the largest city in the area of Crimea, but it also had a strategic and military profile. Then, what is the strategic and military profile? It used to be a closed city. Then it was why it was a closed city in 1948. It was cut off from the other regions, and he drove away the indigenous population, so it remained a closed city. So CADB. Or another possibility is that once you talk about the strategic importance, then you can say DB, then you can maybe put a take out A from here and put A here. But if you put A here, I told you the problem is the used to be is not a correct fit there. It has to be it remained a close city or it was a close city. So that is why CADB is the correct answer. CBDA. So we have one more option where C is coming as the first one, CBDA. So first we talk about C, citing the collaboration, and then in 1948. That is not correct. Why? Because first we have to talk about when it happened. So 1948, it was separated. Then in the same year, Joseph Stalin ordered the ethnic group. So this happened during the same period. So in 1948 is a period when Joseph Stalin was in power in Russia or Soviet Union. So first he separated the surrounding regions from Crimea. Then he uh, blamed that Crimean Tatars were collaborating with Nazis and then drove away those people or deported those people. So that is why CBDA is not the proper sequence. D should come first, then NP. So CDBA is not there. So CBDA is ruled out. CDBA, if it had been there, then it would have been uh, probable correct answer. But thankfully for us, we don't have any CDBA. So these are all incorrect. So we can go for CADB. This is the correct. It was not just the largest city in Crimea, but also had a special importance. Why? What was the special importance? It was a closed city and it was separated from the surrounding regions, and the indigenous people were driven away. So it remained a closed city. Or see, I told you CDBA also is equally good. Only problem is the used to be, but still you can if it had been an option, then we would have been really confused. But thankfully for us, it is not that. So we can very confidently go for CADB as the answer. All right. So the next question talks about a particular character in Flaubert's novel, Madame Bovary. Madame Bovary is a famous novel written by Flaubert. So in this novel, this Emma Bovary is the Madame Bovary, or Emma is the protagonist or the central character of the novel, and it is talking about the mindset of this particular character called Madame Bovary. So, what can you talk about the mindset? She was doing a lot of things which are considered moral. But problem is that she was doing those things which are morally correct things not just because she sincerely felt that doing good things is good for her, or it is she felt really good. She had an ulterior motive. What was the ulterior motive? She was actually in love with the notion of morality. It is not that she was completely sincere about being moral. She was actually having an infatuation or a childish love with the notion of morality, just like a romantic who is in love with love itself, not in love with the lover. So it's when a person is in love in the idea of love, not in love with the person who is her lover, then it creates a problem because she can dump that person when she gets disillusioned with that person because her love is with the concept of love, not with the person. So this is why the author says that Madame Bovary was like that. Her infatuation was with the concept of morality. She was not too much sincere about the doing moral things is correct for her. It is actually good for her. So she was not doing things because of this. So these are the things that are talked about in the passage. So very easily you can say that this is the first sentence because it introduces the subject. Flaubert. Flaubert is author. Flaubert's Madame Bovary negotiates between the world as it is and the world. Emma would wish it to be. Emma is the other name, or Madame Bovary is actually Emma Bovary. So Emma would uh, the novel is negotiating or what it is bargaining or it is changing or it is discussing the two phases of Emma Bovary. One is she has a concept about how the world should be and how the world is. So that is why this is the first sentence. Then, then what? Her actions are indulgent in that. Perhaps her actions are indulgent. So here the author is actually making a doubt that her actions are indulgent means selfish. So she, in that, even though she decides to be moral and performs good works because they are moral, she has an ulterior motive. So this is where he is casting a doubt on why she is doing a lot of good things or moral things. So he says, the author says that it is not because she is sincere about doing moral things, she is has an ulterior motive. So this becomes a next sentence. And what is that ulterior motive? Her actions appear motivated by a mere infatuation with morality. So here the ulterior motive is described. So Madame Bovary's actions appear motivated. So she was doing a lot of moral things and doing good works because they are moral, but she had an ulterior motive. The ulterior motive is that her actions are motivated by an infatuation or attraction with morality. So BCA. And the analogy is given here. So that this is justified by this particular statement, where like the romantic who is in love not with her lover, but with the concept of love, Madame Bovary is seems to be not in love not with morality, but with the concept of morality. So she is not sincerely doing moral things because she is convinced about the effectiveness of morality. She is having a childlike infatuation or an attraction to the concept of morality, as a result of which she is doing equal things. So that is the for this whatever is stated in A is further described with the help of an example by quoting a romantic who is in love with the concept of love, not in love with the lover. So that is why BCAD becomes a very clear answer where B introduces a subject, C is talking about the issue, then the reason for the issue, and then the final sentence, why it is, or further explanation regarding the previous sentence. ECAD becomes the very clear and correct answer. So another thing is that B is definitely the introductory sentence. So you can ignore this, you can ignore this. Then the only other option is BACD. So that is Madame Bovary's actions appear motivated by a mere infatuation with infant. Perhaps her actions are indulgent in that she desires to be moral. No, first we have to talk about what are the actions here. The action is regarding morality. So she first we have to talk about she doing a lot of moral things, but she has an ulterior motive. That ulterior motive is described here. That ulterior motive is she has an infatuation. She is not really sincere about her morality. She only has an infatuation with morality. So that is why A should be the first sentence and then should come B. C and not the other way. And or no, sorry, C should be the first sentence after B, then should come A, and then the further explanation of A is given in D. So only if A is stated and then D is stated, it becomes a logical pair. So A D is definitely a logical pair. B C is a logical pair. If you state like this, A and B are separated with the C, it does not become logical. So that is why this is wrong. B C A D is the correct answer. It is clear. All right, go to the third one. Third one is not very difficult, even though it contains a lot of lengthy statements and all. Once you understand the passage, the answer becomes very simple. The passage is talking about non-verbal communication and how non-verbal communication is included in the verbal communication we do, that is in speech as well as in written text. There is a non-verbal communication part. Then there is a pure non-verbal communication. It is consisting of two elements. One is handwriting, spatial arrangement. Another one is gestures, touch, body language, etc. So this is the main thing. So here, very simple. You can very easily say that E should be the first sentence because it introduces the subject of nonverbal communication. What is nonverbal communication? It is given in E. That is, it is the process by which sending and receiving um, or communicating without the use of words, mostly visual messages are transmitted between people. That is non-verbal communication. So very easily you can say E should be the introductory sentence. So this is gone. So for one option we can remove. Then what? Then we should say what? We should first say how our verbal communication has a non-verbal element. So where we have verbal communication in the form of speech as well as in written text. So these are the two things where verbal communication is there. And among them, which should be the first sentence? See, there is a likewise here. So likewise means similarly. So this should come after A. So first we should say speech contains non-verbal elements like paralanguage, voice quality, rate, pitch, volume, speaking style, rhythm. Prosodic means anything concerned with rhythm, tune, etc. is called prosodic. So rhythm, tune, etc. These are all parts of non-verbal elements which are contained in the verbal form of speech. So this is A. Then, likewise, in written text also have non-verbal elements like handwriting, spatial arrangement of words, etc. So, similarly, like we have non-verbal elements in speech, we have non-verbal elements in written text also. So, this is how we first deal with the non-verbal elements in verbal communication methods. Then we talk about pure non-verbal communication methods, which are the non-verbal material exponential meaning objects and artifacts like clothing, hairstyles, architecture. They are all pure non-verbal communication methods. Then another form of non-verbal communication is gestures, touch, body language, posture, etc. Facial expressions, etc. So now out of this B and D, which should come first? See, there is a word also here, could also be communicated through. So first we have to talk about this form of nonverbal communication like gestures, touch, etc. That is a D. And we can say it can also be communicated through exponential materials like clothing, hairstyles, architecture, etc. So this is how EACDB. So very clearly, option 3 will be the answer, EACDB. So once you understand about EAC itself, your answer is clear because these are all not having EAC as a sequence. So you don't have to even look at the other things. Once you have EAC as a sequence, you can very clearly say EACDB will be the correct sequence. So definition of nonverbal communication. And speech is first form of speech contains nonverbal elements. Likewise, written text also contain nonverbal element. Then nonverbal can be done through communication, gestures. Then it can also be communicated through material exponents. See clearly, this is that. All right, go to the fourth question. This is a very simple question. It is talking about cosmology. So, what is cosmology? There are two sentences which talks about cosmology. One is this one. cosmology is everything that exists, the entire system of things that the universe encompasses, the very large and the very small, the astronomical scale of stars and galaxies, microscopic world, etc. So, first we can say cosmology is everything that exists. Then the further explanation of this everything that exists, system of things that the universe encompasses. That is whatever is existing in the universe. So B is the first sentence. Then it is further elaborated through A. Right? Once you have it, what is the next one? And these, if you read these three sentences, we can very easily say that aim of cosmology is to place all non-physical phenomena within a single coherent framework. So the aim of cosmology is to make all the physical phenomena understood, which can be understandable within a particular structure. So that is the aim. But this is an ambitious goal. It is not so easy to achieve. There are a lot of gaps in the knowledge. So that is why first we can say is the aim. Then this is really ambitious or very difficult to achieve. But nevertheless means, but there has been such rapid progress that many cosmologists regard this as something of the golden age. So even though this is an ambitious goal, the present time is considered to be the golden age of the cosmology because of so much progress that has been made by cosmologists in their aim. So that is why ECD is a sequence. So we can very clearly say BA ECD. So first we talk about the definition of cosmology, then the further explanation of the definition, then the aim of cosmology, then how it is a difficult goal, but why it is achievable, because now it is considered a golden age because of the progress made. So B, A, E, C, D is the correct answer, option 4. Even when you have BA itself, maybe your answer is clear. If you are confident about this, but you have to unjumble the other things to become completely sure about your answer. So that is why we have to do the complete unjumbling to make it very clear that ECD will be the answer. All right, the last question. Again, once you understand that the passage, the unjumbling becomes very easy. It is talking about the definition of terrorism, and there is a lot of problems in and or the politicians as well as academics. Whenever they try to understand terrorism, they are facing this problem of definition of how to distinguish terrorism from criminal violence or military action. So this statement B start introducing the idea of what is the problem in defining terrorism that is faced by politicians as well as academics. So how you can distinguish terrorism from criminal violence or military action. So B can be the introductory sentence, right? Then we say what we can say. This sentence we cannot see where it fits in, so we'll leave it for the time being. Why the difficulty then? So we are talking about the difficulty that we have discussed here. Why it is difficult, the definition or defining terrorism is difficult. In one word, the difficulty is labeling. So in a word, it is labeling means in a word, if you uh, talk about the difficulty in a single word, it is labeling. Why? Because terrorist is a description that has almost never been voluntarily adopted by any individual or group. So no individual or group will voluntarily declare themselves to be terrorists. It is applied to them by others, first and foremost by the governments or the states they attack. So the governments or the states who are affected by terrorism, they are giving this name terrorist to the people who are propagating terrorism. This is the difficulty. So that is where definition becomes a difficult. So we can very clearly see that C E D is a sequence. So once you have CED as a sequence, you can ignore this. You can ignore this. So CED is a sequence, then B becomes the first sentence. So what we can say, most writers have no trouble in compiling a list of legal or other definitions running into dozens and adding. So a lot of writers have absolutely no problem in compiling definitions on terrorism. So first we say that politicians and academics are facing a lot of issues in defining terrorism, but writers have no such problem. They are compiling a lot of legal definitions. So then Why the difficulty then? If the writers are able to compile a list of the legal definitions, what is the problem? Why is so much difficulty that we are talking about in D? So that is why it becomes logical. That is, first, we say that politicians and academics are facing a lot of issues in defining terrorism. Then we say writers are having a lot of legal definitions. Then why this difficulty? So the difficulty is because of this labeling, because it is not voluntarily adopted by any terrorist group. It is applied to them by others. So BACED, the clear answer. BCEDA will never be the answer. Or means BCED. After this, then A is written means it is not having any sense, because we are talking about the difficulty in defining terrorism. Then we say that most writers are not probably compiling legal definitions. And one more problem is, what is the use of this word then if we are directly saying B, C, etc. If B is followed by C, why the difficulty itself is will suffice? There is no need for this word then. So that is why B, C, E, D, A will not be the answer. B, A, C, E, D will be the correct answer. So each and every word has a particular role to play in Para Jumble. So this is why you need to be very, very careful and focused while doing Para Jumble questions, because these are the questions in which you can score very easy marks within the shortest possible time if you know where to look and what to look for, and how to unjumble the things at the fastest possible manner. This will be developed only through practice. So that is why I constantly uh, urge my students to practice continuously with para jumbles and para summaries. Only then this skill can be acquired to a very high level, so that you can answer the questions, cat level questions in a very effective manner. So please like, share, and subscribe if you have found the content to be useful, and try to help me to extend my reach so that I get motivated to come out with further videos. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Thank you. Bye bye.